Hey everybody, welcome into TexAgs Rewind presented by Yeti. The fan show guys are here. Leanna Davison is here as well. Leanna, I'm going to let you start off the show. What was your favorite part of the show?
I liked the swimming and diving head coach, Jay Holmes, in studio. I love listening to that. I went to the meet last Friday. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time. All right, fan show friends.
I like Swope and McGee.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I like Swope and McGee every time.
You know what, though? I actually agree. I like the swimming talk. Hey,
Yeah.
This guy right here was a member of the Round Rock Dolphins 1985.
1985.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like a porpoise in the water.
When's the last time you went swimming?
Like
Real swimming, not just in the pool.
that's actually, I mean, it doesn't look it,
1986.
but that's my favorite exercise.
Yeah.
So I actually love to swim.
All right, in about 30 seconds, guys, we didn't talk basketball. Just thoughts on the Ohio State game coming up tomorrow. Anybody? Take it.
Yeah, a big game. It's a great early test, and looking forward to watching the team. They looked good. They're we didn't gel early last year, but hopefully we will
It's
this
good
year.
to have hope. This talented team.
It's very talented. Could easily win. The jury's out right now on whether it'll take us for a win. I haven't seen enough, but they're very good.
All right, guys. So today on the program, OB was great. We did do Heisman watch and all the good stuff with him. These jokers were here. Much more. Check it out on the TexAgs Rewind. So I'll start talking about it. The number 5 guy, has he been on this list? There's a couple of new names on this list right here, OB.
That's right. Yeah. You've mentioned him a few times, and my whole take was, well, let's wait until he plays somebody better.
Substance.
And I don't know that Cal, who they played last week, qualifies, but the fact that he's continues to be consistently good and at the same time other guys falling off, I think you had to bring Bo Nix in. He threw 4 touchdown passes, 386 yards, and that 63-19 blowout of Cal. That's the 5th game this season he's thrown for at least 290 yards. He's completing 78.1% of his passes, 2,723 yards, 25 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. He's also rushed for 5 touchdowns, and the Ducks are 8-1.
They're pretty darn good. And you know what? It doesn't feel, maybe I just like Dan Lanning. It doesn't feel like some Oregon teams from the past that I just didn't believe in. I'm not saying I think they're going to win a national championship, but I think they have more staying power than some of those prior teams.
I think they're probably better than Washington if they play again. There's a good chance they will. I'd probably go with Oregon. Number 4.
This guy's skyrocketing.
Ollie Gordon, Oklahoma State, the nation's leading rusher, 1,225 yards. Now, that doesn't maybe sound like that impressive, but consider in the first 3 games, he only had 109 yards. And then they changed their offense, decided to feature him, and he's just been going crazy. He's been, I think, at least
they changed it off.
At least 121 yards in every game since then. He's rushed for 995 yards and 10 touchdowns in the last 5 games alone.
That's pretty fantastic.
200 yards a game.
And look, you beat your rival going out the way they did.
Yeah, that's right. Last
Props
week,
to you.
Last week he had 138 yards and 2 touchdowns in that 27-24 win over Oklahoma. And you know what else?
Okay.
He's caught 22 passes for 219 yards and a touchdown.
Before we go,
do you agree with that? You had him in the first round earlier.
Max
Jefferson.
I think Max is
KJ Jefferson.
KJ Jefferson. I don't know whose list is this.
Saturday Down South.
Okay, well,
Jaden Daniels is a baller. Carson Beck, dude's gotten better. He can make some throws. I get it. Jackson Dart, dude's playing good right now.
But I think
he's
Max,
kind of like to me.
I think Max can outdo most of those guys on that list, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, absolutely. In the NFL system, because it's not just ability, but you got to be able to make throws in the NFL. Like if you're going to make an NFL roster, you better make some throws.
Right.
Yeah. Like you can't just run around. Like that's not how the NFL works.
So before we go, if it is Henderson at quarterback, and if Will Rogers is playing, is this a game that A&M should still win?
Yeah.
We haven't seen Henderson, so it's very hard to say, right?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. We should single-handedly beat this football team because I think Mississippi State they've got bigger issues than we do right now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You just never know in the SEC.
Well, I've hedged my bets. I've hedged my bets because if
you think
Mississippi State comes in here and wins, Nick Savage has told us that we can show up next Thursday and kick him in the you-know-whats. So he's already accepted that. He said there's no way that we lose to Mississippi State. He thinks they're that bad. Now,
yeah, they are pretty bad.
They are bad. But in the SEC, and you don't get a good start, momentum's a funny thing in sports. You lay an egg early, you got a quarterback trying to figure it out. Heck, he's probably just trying to figure out the cadence. The offensive line's probably trying to figure out how he calls his cadence.
Yeah.
And you're backed up, pre-snap penalty. I mean, I'm telling you, the recipe is there for an upset.
Any interest or intrigue or any storylines that pique your interest when it comes to this Mississippi State game?
I mean, the only thing that interests me is there a scenario in which Texas A&M does not win? I know they're about an 18-point favorite in Vegas. I mean, listen, you don't need the analysis. You're at home, night game. Mississippi State, I don't know if it's a backup, a third string, or whatever. They're not very good to begin with. I have been largely underwhelmed by the Zach Arnett era. I mean, you just got to win. And it almost goes back to what I said before the South Carolina game. I remember talking to Nick the week that you were out, David, in the lead up to South Carolina. So it was really 2 weeks before the South Carolina game. But I said, you're at home. You haven't won a lot of big ones. Go out there and put on a show for your fans. Put up 35, 38, 41, 42 points and give them a show. That certainly didn't happen against South Carolina. Maybe it'll happen this week against Mississippi State. But I do think there's intrigue because either one, you're going to beat them the way that you should beat them, and you get a tiny bit of reprieve and positivity in what's been kind of a negative probably 6 weeks, or it's going to be too close for comfort, and you're going to be frustrated again. So I do think there is intrigue. It's just which side it's on, and then hopefully it's on the positive side for the Aggies.
Talking to AT, Aaron Torres here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Alabama, Kentucky. I've said this before, and I there's something about Kentucky that reminds me of A&M, and I think it's because their defense is strong and whatnot, and they're also the last couple years underperformed. What kind of chance do you give Kentucky this weekend taking on a Bama team that has figured it out?
Well, I'll give you the comparison that I would make between the two teams, and it's different for A&M because A&M is playing with what is ultimately a backup quarterback in Max Johnson. I think A&M on an offensive side, for the most part, has coached pretty scared this year.
So David B. on the YouTube page says, can you ask the group what happens if we run the table next year? Then we're all happy. I mean, it's that simple, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I'm not discounting LSU. I sat here last week and I said, if we win this game, LSU is in trouble on that Thanksgiving weekend. Now, we did not win the game, but we played well enough to win that game. And I still think LSU's in trouble that weekend because what I know from coaching and playing and just being around sports my entire life, when a team learns to get over the hump in a tight situation, it can roll real fast. It can get going real good real fast. I've seen it a bunch. Mm-hmm. Now, are we going to do that? Gee, I don't know. Maybe. Is LSU going to be the time we get over the hump? I kind of thought last year's LSU was the time we got over the hump. That wasn't the case, obviously. We take our third-string quarterback against Mississippi State and find a way to win a tight one, because if we play with our third-string quarterback, it's probably going to be a tight one. I mean, that's just the way it is, right? Then we find a way to win a tight one. Is that enough to get us over the hump? I don't know. Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, if we turn around and run the table next year, we'll build a statue to Jimbo. I mean, that's what we'll do.
Right, but I don't think there's any scenario this year. I mean, I guess win out and a bowl game win or something, but I just don't see there's no hump to get over. This season's a disaster. The past 3 years are a disaster. I don't see any metric that says you're going to go to Baton Rouge and win a game. Right? You just get this horribly long road game streak. You can't beat good SEC teams. Who has he beat in the past 3 years? He beat Alabama in 21. And then a 4-loss LSU team last year that got blown out by Tennessee. That was not a great team. So other than that, you have 0 wins.
We've lost 5 straight games to the Mississippi schools. That's a tough stat to hear.
And 3, that Lane Kiffin just owns you right now that's the sourest thing that came out of Saturday. And all his tweets since then, telling his offensive lineman nice composure when he got cracked in the groin.
Which, by the way, they were doing that on purpose. You could see it live.
Oh, yeah.
They were doing it the whole game.
All right, let's allow the last one to walk into the studio to close us out, because he's going to have to be the last one to leave.
Like, subscribe. Find us on YouTube. I mean, You got to deal with David and OB and looking at him, but still pretty nice. So
You watch the whole show, but if you're in a time crunch, watch the rewind.
Yeah, it's like a cappuccino or no, like an espresso shot. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.